this is Emma, and I'm here to say I'm going to be reacting to funny Reddit stories today. So, if you're ready, let's do this thing. So, what's the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life? I fell in a sewer in a bridesmaid dress when I was 9. The lid was off the manhole, and I was wearing a hoop skirt, so I couldn't see my feet. The dress saved my life, but my mother was big mad about the dress and missing the reception. And those dresses are not cheap. Those things are expensive. Um, but you didn't know, and you were 9. Who can really be mad at you if you're 9 and you have an accident like that? This one's gotta be funny. It's long. In 6th grade, I was at an amusement park with my best friend Jared. He was a really heavy kid and tall, probably 6 feet, and well on his way to 300 pounds, if not 10 or 15 pounds over. He was huge. We rode the log flume, which was basically a lazy river that led to a steep ramp and even steeper drop at the end. The ride attendant into the loaded us into the canoe with Jared in front and me in the back and two much younger 7 to 8 kids in the middle. Being absolutely rotten to the core, as most 6th grade boys are, we decided to scare little kids by musing over every possible thing that could go wrong on the ride and how terrible deaths would be. I don't recall every horror and catastrophe we dreamt up. You'll have to use your imagination. But I'll never forget what Jared did. Inspiration struck, and he grabbed the sides of our canoe and announced, "Hell, I'm a big boy. I might capsize this son bitch." Then he proceeded to rock the canoe from side to side as we bounced and swerved along the lazy river. Being in the back, I had the perfect view. The kids were so damn scared. The look in their eyes was pure terror. I was cackling and laughing hysterically. This went on until the ramp just before the big drop at the end of the ride, so probably about 90 seconds. But I guarantee it felt much longer to the younglings. When the ride was over, they were pretty much climbing over each other to get out. I saw them in the day later in the day, and they appeared to be fully recovered and having a great time. Kids are resilient. But for the rest of the day, Jared and I cry laughed whenever we thought of it. And of course, when one of us started laughing, it would trip off the other. I know those experiences where you were laughing about something and then you guys just keep adding shit to the conversation and it makes you laugh harder and then you can't freaking breathe. Yeah, I know that feeling. But that's so freaking cruel that you would do that. Your friend Jared, yes, sounds funny, but that's so mean. That's messed up, fam. So back in 2011, I was majoring in theater arts at the local college, and I was in the rhetorical in the theatrical makeup class. It was the only class I had on Fridays, and I frequently came home in whatever I had done that day in class to show my dad. It was the week of Halloween, and our teacher was teaching us bloodies for makeup, and my horror obsessed haunted house scare actor Fleet Street is the best stage blood. Boasting himself was going wild. While most of the other students did a burn, a few bruises, maybe a gash on the arm, I made myself look like roadkill that it was that always got also got mauled by a bear, and it was a lot. Enough to get me pulled over by a concerned campus cop when I was leaving. I went home covered in fake blood, looking like hell and loving it. My dad told me to keep it on so my niece and nephews could see when they got there after school. They knew I had makeup class. I wasn't going to scar them. So around 2:45 p.m., I hear a knock at the door. Well, I decided to answer like a zombie to make them laugh. I should note, I realized I should have probably checked to make sure it was them. I answered the door slowly, dragging my foot, moaning brains to see two Jehovah's two Jehovah's Witnesses go green and and absolutely bolt back to their bikes. I literally was still processing what had just happened as they peeled around the corner, and my brother showed up with the kids. To this day, my dad says he's seen them actively avoid our door and once heard them refer to it as the home of the devil. Okay. As someone who was raised Catholic, I can assure you that so many people that went to the churches that I was part of think I'm the devil. Because I worked at haunted houses and would post pictures of the makeup I did or someone else did to me for the haunted house. I don't know what to tell you. A ton of people think I'm the devil. I go to a church now that I'm being very accepted by most of the community, but there are still some of them who are like, "Well, God bless you," and they mean that in a negative way because I am queer. Um, oh, that's so freaking funny. I've never seen a Jehovah's Witness person, but I have heard about them, and they sound scary in my opinion. So the fact that you just answered like a zombie is hilarious. They are never going back to your house again. Never. You just got yourself clean from their schedule. That's hilarious. Oh my god. I don't think any of them are gonna beat that story. And they just titled it Funny Story. Okay, this will be the last one, okay? It is called My Insane Doctor's Appointment and We Have Liftoff. If you've ever been so embarrassed you literally could die, you gotta hear this. So here I am, straight out of high school. It was a couple of years since my last physical and I was due. So I scheduled a doctor's appointment for a regular physical. You have no idea how this is going to end. I get to my appointment and I'm ready for whatever. Open my mouth and say ah, take big deep breaths in and out, and yes, drop my pants, turn and cough. Then he says, we should take a urine sample. And I'm like, easy peasy. So I get a cup from the nurse, head to the bathroom, and splash all over to get a sample. You think it's easy, but it's not. It's like a faucet. Once you start, you can't stop. I cleaned up, walked out, and gave the cup of my pee to the nurse and head home full of pride, thinking I surely passed with flying colors. Nope. The nurse calls later that afternoon, and I'm thinking I only slept with a couple girls. What could it be? She begins to tell me that my test came back abnormal and that I should see a specialist. What specialist? I ask. She says, we found a normal amount of white blood cells in your urine. We'd like you to see a urologist. Great, here we go. Um, I scheduled a urologist appointment a week later, and I'm thinking the worst. Could it be an STD, or worse, yet some type of disease? Maybe I have a defective ding dong? I have no clue. I nervously walk in, sit down, and wait my turn, gripping the chair with both hands like I'm going to take off like a rocket ship. There are other guys in the waiting room, all waiting their turns. It's obvious I'm the youngest of the space shuttle crew. Finally, my name gets called, and I sit down in the exam room. About 20 minutes later, the doctor comes in and he explains what the nurse told me over the phone. Here I am thinking it'll be another urine sample, right? He then says I'd like to start with a bladder scope. Great, they're going to cut me open and look at my bladder. This obviously won't happen today, and this will need to be scheduled out. Nope, he says we won't cut you open. We'll take a thin tube with a light at the camera at the end and insert it into your urethra. I am visibly shaken at this point. What's my urethra? Is that a medical term for belly button? No, that's where you urinate from, he says. I immediately turn white and start sweating. I begin to tell him, I don't think this is necessary. I've only slept with two girls and there must be some type of mistake. Can we schedule this for another time? No, we have it scheduled for today, and trust me, it won't hurt or take long, he says. I get taken back into another room where they lay me down to prepare me for the procedure. I'm literally shaking at this point, thinking I just want to go home and crawl under the covers. Then about four other nurses walk into the room. Apparently, they are students who are observing the procedure for educational purposes. They should ask you if the people coming in to observe if you're okay with that. I hope they asked you because they legally should ask you. What the F am I thinking? The older female nurse, probably in her 60s, then comes up to me and says, I need to prepare the area for the procedure. She then proceeds to clean my junk with this orange reddish liquid called idopovidone. Oh no, it's been some time since my last encounter with my ex, but this is not good. She's cleaning the area like it's her last supper, and here I am getting a rock hard bonsai tree. I grasp the table, and before I can start to think of my grandmother, the inevitable happens. I had no control. It was so fast. I had no time to think, and it meant it comes out. The nurse takes a step back, immediately places a towel over her, and says, it's not the first time. The procedure was quick, and I got dressed and walked out of the office with my tail between my legs. I get home and shower like I've just been violated. Thankfully, everything was fine except for my pride. I haven't had a physical since. That's gross. um, okay. I'm glad everything's fine, but why did they have an abnormal amount of white blood cells in your urine? That's the real. I don't even care about the funny story. I care about what actually happened and what medically is wrong. Um, and I didn't even know they did that to you while you're awake. Because, like, I can imagine that being scary for a man to experience. I didn't know that they could put the camera in your urethra while you're awake. That's weird. But what do I know? I'm not a doctor. I guarantee that's not the first time that somebody's had a boner from being rubbed down like that. Um, like it was their last supper. Anyway, I liked the story before this one better. The funny story. That's hilarious. I love that. I plan to, when it's October, do whatever makeup I want. Any scary, any cute, whatever makeup, and just wear it throughout the days. Obviously, I'll take it off before going to bed, but I figured I'll just wear whatever makeup I want throughout the day. If I want to be a zombie, I'll be a freaking zombie. I do plan on auditioning to work at another haunted house because that was fun, but I will never work at that same haunted house again because they are very homophobic and wrong. So, yeah, but that's so freaking funny. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's not terribly long. I just wanted to read a few stories. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Mo signing off. Bye.